Working with tabs. So what we're going to do is I just set up a text box, uses our 4 columns because we have 8 columns. So if we have 2 of these, it'll be nice and even. What I've gone ahead and done is plunked in some of our menu copy and just some lead-in copy here, just for the purpose of the tutorial. First, what I'll do is I'll make sure that my hyphenation is off because that will drive me most crazy. And I'm just gonna cut that paragraph off. Okay, so I just want to talk about tabs. So if we want to pull up that tabs menu, we press Command Shift T, and there's our menu. First and foremost, what you see is a lighter gray section. This is based upon the width of your text box. So obviously, if you try to go beyond that, you're not going to be working within your actual text box. We can also see what's happening when we have our paragraph window open. So just keeping those next to each other so we can see what's happening. So before we get too far ahead, I just want to simply run through this working in bullets. So if I say have a paragraph copy and then some bullet copy here, if I want to add some bullets, I'm going to hit that hamburger, bullets and numbering, drop down to bullets, hit the period, and we press OK. So immediately what I see here is a couple things. First and foremost is that tab is way too far out. And second, our second line is not in line with this first tab. So we need to go ahead and make sure that this looks good and nice and even. So to ensure that what I'm doing is going to apply to all of those bullets, I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of that type. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with these 2 arrows or triangles, sorry. When I grab this bottom triangle and move it, it's going to move both the bullet along with this second line of copy. If I go too far, you're going to see it's going to start to default and keep some of the spacing. But what we want to do here first is we are setting that first, that margin of text. So where we want our actual text to be sitting. So right now it doesn't look like that, but that's say at a nice even number 0.25. Now we need to move that bullet back over so it's in line with our body copy. So we're going to just grab that top triangle and we're going to move that back. So you can see that number turns into a negative value because this is now set at what it's saying is 0 in comparison to those 2 arrows together. So we're going to set this to go behind. We can't go any further because that's the end of our text box. And we can see a negative value of 0.25 because it's gone 1/4 of an inch back from what we set that margin as. So now we have a decent size margin, and we also have our bottom line indent set correctly. What you can see is what we did here is if I click this bottom arrow, we have 0.25. Now if I hit this top, or so I keep calling it an arrow triangle, we have minus 0.25. If we go over to our paragraph panel, we can see the exact same value. So say, for instance, I'm just going to go ahead and undo all of that. Say, for instance, I have a specific number. So I actually want to make sure that this first line of text is only bumped in. Let's just use our numbers here, maybe 0.1875. So what this is doing when you hover over, you can see it's our left-hand indent. So remember 0.1875 is where this is sitting right now, but we need those bullets to set behind it, which is how we adjust from here, which is our first line left indent. Remember, we need to go behind our margin if we look at those tabs, and we're going to bump those down to minus 0.1875. If, for instance, we want those bullets to be tabbed in a little bit, we can now move these 2 together and we can make those little adjustments. Okay. So for the purpose of our project, we won't physically need bulleted copy, although you might. But what I do also want to show you within our tabs, this is just going to be working with our tab menu, is if we want to, say, for instance, let's pull up that grid. Say we want to have this dollar amount to hinge over to the right-hand side. Some of us have done this in the past. It shows hidden characters. So we go and we input a bunch of indents and then we maybe go space, 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 space. That's just a giant waste of time, folks. Instead, what we do is we insert one tab and we're going to use this right justified tab. So it comes in from the left and then down. So we're going to click that little arrow and I'm going to plunk it in. I'm going to hinge that exactly where I want that right indent to be, which is all the way over to the other side. My InDesign had a little dupe, a weird little dupe thing. And there we go. Say we want to add some dots. So it provides a visual of this line item with that price. We're just going to go ahead and select that little down arrow, and we're going to go to leader, and we can add a period. We can add a dash, etc. So say that's how we want those tabs to look. We would then use this style. And what you're instructed to do is use your character styles, but you can see here if I want to, for instance, apply it here. I can highlight this. I'm going to grab my eyedropper, and there it is. And that's our tabs, folks.